RKC, and I'm going to teach you the Hardstyle Kettlebell Snatch. First I'm going to demonstrate from the front, and then from the profile view, and then I'm going to take you through a couple progressions to help you improve your snatch technique, and to also help you progress the snatching ahead of your belt. Here's the snatch. Side. So, a couple things before we get into actually working and progressing to the kettlebell snatch is, one, you have no business snatching a kettlebell until you have spent a sufficient amount of time on your two-hand swings, one-hand swings, and Turkish get-ups. The swings are going to develop that hip drive that you need to get the belt up. Turkish get-ups are going to develop that shoulder mobility and stability for a proper lockout. So, if you haven't spent at least a month or so on really developing your swing and get-up technique, go spend time doing that, because you'll just hurt yourself or really hinder your snatch performance if you don't have a solid foundation. So, there are a couple progressions to teaching the kettlebell snatch. I've taught hundreds of people to snatch a kettlebell, and I've found that everybody kind of is receptive to a different sort of progression. Now, the snatch and the clean have the highest learning curve, so you have to realize you have to be patient with these techniques. Right? Nobody hops on a bike for the first time and is able to ride it perfectly. Right? So it's a skill and it's a technique. Now, it's not a very high skill movement, but it will take practice to perfect. You have to be smart enough to keep the reps low enough at first, so you don't bang yourself up too much and you don't tear your calluses. Right? Over time, as your technique gets cleaner, then you can up the reps. Right? So the first way we're going to work the snatch is just from a one-arm swing. So we're going to work the first progression I'm going to teach is the high pull progression, working the snatch on the way up. If that doesn't feel right to you, I'm going to show you the progression, working the snatch from the top down. Alright, so the progression is simple. We're going to start with one-arm swings. Alright, always assume, alright, if you haven't seen my swing tutorial, go watch that. Alright, making sure you're maintaining your lat engagement, shoulder packed, flat back. Alright, this is a hard style swing, so we're going to keep that nice crown to coccyx alignment, arching the lumbar. This is not a GS style snatch. Okay, so from here, alright, we're going to work our one-arm swing. Get that good hip snap going. Biomechanical breathing match. Then from here, we're going to implement the high pull. Now the high pull is simple. Alright, we're just adding a bit of elbow flexion and getting that horizontal abduction by drawing our elbow back, almost like we're trying to elbow someone behind us in the face. Alright, think about leading with the elbow and keeping the belt in line with the arm. Alright, it looks like this. We're going to snap our hips, add the elbow flexion, drawing the bell up and slightly back. So do a swing, high pull. And then alternate back and forth, swing, high pull, swing, high pull. And then you can just do some continuous high pulls. Alright, boom, pulling, punching, pulling, punch, pull, punch, pull, punch. So the key to the high pull for the snatch progression, this is going to teach you to tame the arc, meaning we want to keep the trajectory of the snatch as vertical as possible. We don't want the bell coming out in a huge arc, because what goes out is eventually going to come back, it's going to yank us back, it's going to bang us up. So when we snatch, we want to think about coming as close up our center line as possible. Adding that elbow flexion in, drawing the bell back is going to help do that. Now, from the high pull, working into the snatch is actually quite simple, because at the top of the high pull, there's a slight moment where the bell is essentially weightless, right? From the snapping of your hips, the bell is weightless, right here, right? Boom, right? I could actually let go of the bell, right? Here, right? It's very light. If you have a good hip drop, again, that foundation, right? It's very, very light. It's almost like a lazy swing. So it's at that moment where that bell is essentially weightless that we're just going to loosen our grip and insert our hand through the bell. All right. Loosen the grip, spear through. Do not death grip the bell. If you hold the bell too tight, it's going to slow the rotation, it's going to tear your calluses, and it's going to bang your forearm. All right, we want to add that high pull. Here, snap the hips, open the hand, and insert right through. Nice and smooth. All right, boom, one more time. Boom, add the high pull, and then insert the hand through. Very simple. All right, this is not a press. All right, the insertion through the bell should be essentially effortless. All right, if your hip snap is there, it's here, and it's very smooth. All right, the bell rotates around the forearm smoothly, almost as if it's rolling. All right, it's not flopping over. I'm punching through. All right, what we don't want is this. This is where you death grip the bell and you flop it over. Ah, I really don't even like demonstrating that because it hurts so bad. All right, what we do want, good hip snap. Implement the high pull, loosen the grip, and punch through right when that bell is essentially weightless. Very smooth. All right, from the side. Here we go. And then elbow flexion, pulling the bell back. All right, this is about forehead height when I'm punching through. Boom, very smooth. Nice full lockout. At the lockout, my bicep is next to, or even slightly behind the ear. The weight is distributed down through my body into the ground. It should be a comfortable position. My shoulders back down. I'm not shoving the weight up. Look at the handle. All right. It's deep in the base of my palm. My wrist is straight. This is very important. All right. We do not want the bell to be up here, bending our wrist back. All right. It's going to be painful. You're going to get a lot of wrist problems. The bell actually lies on the forearm, right along here. All right. One more time, we're going to demonstrate. Hike it back, draw the elbow back, insert the hand through. There's your kettlebell snatch. Now, the downward portion. You saw what I just did. That's called a half snatch, where we lower the bell to the rack, and then we drop it down from there. Do that at first to get comfortable with the upward portion, but when you're ready to work your way down, here's what you're going to do. At the top of the snatch, you're locked down. What I want you to think about is throwing the bell towards your stomach. All right, again, we want to tame the arc on the way down like we're doing the way up. So we're going to throw it down, trying to keep it as vertical as possible towards our stomach, and then we're going to move our hips out of the way at the last second. The purpose of the kettlebell snatch is it's a very athletic movement. Not only is it going to teach us to produce force, but it's going to teach us to reduce and redirect as well. So what we don't want is to throw the bell down, have it yank our arm out, and then boom, pull us in. No, we want to learn to reduce the force, catch the weight with our hips. Think your posterior chain is a rubber band. All right, the bell's coming down. We follow the trajectory of the bell with our hips, reducing that force, stretching that rubber band. Boom, redirect it back up. All right, allow me to demonstrate. Now watch, I'm going to follow the trajectory of the bell with my hips. Reverse it right back up. Very explosive, very powerful. Matching the breathing to movement and on the way down. Sharp breath on the way up. Learning to catch the bell with your hips is not only going to save your grip, it's going to keep your shoulders safe. Right? It's going to make sure you don't pull your rhomboid or your lat. Right? But it's also going to essentially really teach you to reduce force. And as an athlete, it's a very important technique to learn. It's how to handle force, how to reduce it, and then how to redirect it. So, another point that I need to make on the way down is when we're throwing that bell, again, we're literally throwing it. The bell's going to enter a free fall, and we're just going to loosen the grip, let the handle transfer from the base of the palm right into the hook of the fingers, and drag it down. If you death grip the bell on the way down, it's going to grind those calluses up. You're going to get some nasty callus tears, and you're probably never going to want to snatch a kettlebell again. So, what we want to do, boom, is throw that bell, re-hook it at about forehead, eye height level in the hook of our fingers. Drag it in. Throw, drag it in. All right? You have to get over the fear of letting go of that bell for a split second. All right? Because if you grind it, hold it, and it grinds and tears your calluses up, it's no good. Throw it, rehook, drag. So it's very quick and it's very hard to see, but I'm literally letting the bell fall. If this is the handle of the bell, and it's transferring effortlessly, no resistance to hooking my fingers. I'm rotating my thumb in, boom, here, and then redirect. So thumb position is optional. I prefer to rotate my thumb in on the way down, and then my palm will pronate on the way up, facing forward. Okay? That is the high pull progression of the kettlebell snatch. Take your time, be patient with it.